Hello, hello, hello. Peace and power elevation be to all of you. It's your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. Live in effect on this beautiful Monday. Monday, December 20th. Okay, 2021. So I am going to talk about music. Today's subject. So I want to talk about jazz. A jazz guitarist. It was suggested to me by one of the people in my chat. So the other night, I was trying to play with my guitar and everything. So yeah, I got a acoustic guitar. It's a black one. It's a Fender. But anyways, guitars are one of my favorite instruments. I love to play. I love to fiddle with them and all of that. But I gotta get the chords down pat. I gotta be able to create a decent sound. Right. But I want to talk about this gentleman here, a great musician of his time period, but his life was short lived. However, it was said to be that he was a wonderful musician during his period during the 20s. So his name is Charlie Christian. So that's what I want to get into. So I want to thank everybody that have been subscribed to my channel, hitting the notification bell, chilling with me, coming through my chat, checking me out, and all that, being supportive. I really appreciate that a lot. So let me go ahead and share the screen for you. All right. So as you can see, this is a picture of Charlie Christian. Right. This is him on his guitar. So who was he? He was born on July the 29th, 1916 in Boham, Texas. And he died on March the 2nd, 1942 in Staten Island, New York. So he was an American swing and jazz guitarist. He was an important early performer on the electric guitar and a key figure in the development of bebop and cool jazz. Bebop is the bebop, bop, 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 a boo, 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 bop, bop, bop. You know how it goes. That's bebop. All right. He gained national exposure as a member of the Benny Goodman Sextet and Orchestra from August of 1939 to June of 1941. His single string technique combined in amplification helped bring the guitar out the rhythm section and into the forefront as a solo instrument. For this, he is often credited with leading to the development of the lead guitar role in musical ensembles and bands. John Hammond and George T. Simon called Christian the best improvisational talent of the swing era. In the liner notes to the album Solo Flight, The Genius of Charlie Christian, Gene Lees wrote that many critics and musicians considered that Christian was one of the founding fathers of bebop, or if not, that at least a precursor to it. Okay. Then it goes on to say, Christian's influence reached beyond jazz and swing. In 1990, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the category Early Influence. In 2006, Oklahoma City renamed a street in Bricktown Entertainment District Charlie Christian Avenue because he was raised in Oklahoma City and was one of many musicians who jammed along the city's Deep Deuce section of NE 2nd Street. Excuse me. Let me get some water. Always have your minerals on deck. Okay, always have your minerals. So again, like I said, he was born in Bonham, Texas. His family moved to Oklahoma City when he was a small child. His parents were musicians. He had two brothers, Edward born in 1906, Clarence born in 1911. All three sons were taught music by their father, Clarence Henry Christian. Clarence Henry was struck blind by fever, and in order to support the family, he and the boys worked as buskers on what the Christians called buses. He would have them lead into the better neighborhoods where they would perform for cash or goods. When Charles was old enough to go along, he first entertained by dancing. Later, he learned to play the guitar, inheriting his father's instrument upon his death when Charles was 12. Right then, he also attended Douglas School in Oklahoma City, where he was further encouraged in music by an instructor, Zila M. Brio. Charles wanted to play tenor saxophone in the school band, but she insisted he try trumpet instead. As he believed playing the trumpet would disfigure his lips, he quit to pursue his interest in baseball, at which he excelled. So, in a 1978 interview with Charlie Christian biographer Craig McKinney, Clarence Christian said that in the 1920s and 30s, Edward Christian led a band in Oklahoma City as a pianist and had a shaky relationship with the trumpeter James Simpson around 1931. He took the guitar Bigfoot Ralph Hamilton and began secretly schooling the younger Charles in jazz. They taught him to solo on 3 songs, Rose Room, Tea for Two, and Sweet Georgia Brown. When the time was right, they took him out to one of the many after-hours jam sessions along Deep Deuce, Northeast 2nd Street in Oklahoma City. All right. So basically, his brother was the one that took him in and showed him how to play guitar, taught him the element of the element of jazz and the sound and everything. So he wanted to start playing saxophone, right? Then his teacher insisted that he should play the trumpet. He said trumpet was not for him. So then his brother took him in and showed him how to play the guitar. All right. Let's continue. Okay. So it says that let's let Charles play one. They told Edward. Nobody wants to hear them old blues. Edward replied after some encouragement. He allowed Charles to play. What do you want to play? He asked. All 3 songs were big in the early 1930s, and Edward was surprised that Charles knew them. After 2 encores, Charles had played all 3, and Deep Deuce was in uproar. He coolly dismissed himself from the jam session, and his mother had heard about it before he got home. All right. So he fathered a daughter named Billie Jean by Margarita Lorraine Downey of Oklahoma City. All right. So Charles soon was performing locally and on the road throughout the Midwest, as far as away as North Dakota and Minnesota. By 1936, he was playing electric guitar and had become a regional attraction. He jammed with many of the big names performers traveling through Oklahoma City, including Teddy Wilson, Art Tatum, Mary Lou Williams, the pianist for Andy Clark and his Clouds of Joy, told the record producer John Hammond. Okay, so that's Benny Goodman, and that's Charles Christian in the studios. Okay, these two right here. So they in the recording session. All right. So it goes on to say how he auditioned in 1939 for John Hammond, who recommended him to the band leader Benny Goodman. Goodman was the fourth white band leader to feature black musician in his live band. The first was Jimmy Durant, for whom the clarinetist Archie Baquet played and recorded in Durant's new original New Orleans jazz band. The second was the violinist Arthur Hand, who led the California Ramblers from 1922 to 1925, included the trumpeter Bill Moore, who was billed as the Hot Hawaiian. The third was Ben Burney, who band from 1925 to 1928, also featured Moore. Goodman became the fourth by bringing in Teddy Wilson on piano in 1935, Lionel Hampton on vibraphone in 1936. Goodman hired Christian to play with the newly formed Goodman Sextet, and damn, I don't know if my allergy is kicking in or what. Excuse me. But Goodman hired Goodman hired Christian to play with the newly formed Goodman Sextet in September 1939. What do you say? Who is Art Tech? Excuse me. Somebody posted pronounces Arte. Who is Arte? Who? Okay. Well, thank you for that correction. I think you probably talking about the who. Okay, who is Arte? Who are you talking about? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. Art Tatum. Yeah. Okay, I got you. I got you now. Got you. I had to go back and look it up. Okay, so I got you. That's why I said Art Tatum. That's what I said. Yeah, I said that right the first time. But anyways, what was I at? Okay, anyways, yeah, going further down, it says, so it has been claimed that Goodman was initially uninterested in hiring Christian because the electric guitar was a relatively new instrument. So Goodman had been exposed to the instrument with Floyd Smith and Leonard Ware, among others, none of whom had the ability of Christian. There is a report that Goodman unsuccessfully tried to buy Floyd Smith's contract from Andy Kirk. Andy Kirk. However, Goodman was so impressed by Christian's plan that he hired him instead. So then goes on to talk about the several verses of the first meeting of Christian and Goodman on August 16, 1939. The encounter that after the recording studio had not gone well. Damn. Yeah, the recording studio had not gone well. Christian recalled in a 1940 article in Metronome magazine, I guess neither one of us liked what I played, but Hammond decided to try again without consulting Goodman. Yeah, Art Tatum. You right. That's what I said, Art Tatum. Yes, I did. I said Art Tatum. You didn't hear me. I was reading fast, but I said Art Tatum. Yeah, that's what I said, Art Tatum. Yeah, Art Tatum. Yeah, that's what I said, Art Tatum. Anywho, continue. He installed Christian on the bandstand for that night, said at the Victor Hugo restaurant in Los Angeles. Displeased at the surprise, Goodman called Rose Room, a tune he assumed Christian would be unfamiliar with. Unknown to Goodman, Christian had been reared on the tune, and he came in with his first chorus of about 20, all of them different, all alike. Anything Goodman had heard before, that version of Rose Room lasted 40 minutes. By its end, Christian was in the band. In, of course, a few days, Christian went from making $2.50 a night to $150 a week. All right. So I'm just going to skip all of this. All right, so I'm gonna skip this part right here and go down to where it says styles and influences. Right. All right. So, and I like this guitar. One day, hopefully I can get this one right here. I like this guitar. So this is the Gibson ES 150. One day I want to get this guitar. All right. But anyways, Christian solos are frequently described as horn-like, and in that sense, he was more influenced by horn players such as Lester Young and Herschel Evans than by early acoustic guitarists like Eddie Lang, the jazz and bluesman Lonnie Johnson, although they both had contribute to the expansion of the guitar roles from the rhythm section to a solo instrument. Christian stated that he wanted his guitar to sound like a tenor saxophone. The French gypsy jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt had little influence on him. But Christian was obviously familiar with some of his recordings. The guitarist Mary Osborne recalled hearing him play Django's solos on St. Louis Blues note for note, but then following it with his own ideas. All right. So by 1939, there already been electric guitar soloists: Leonard Ware, George Barnes, Eddie Durham, and who had recorded with Count Basie, Floyd Smith, who recorded Floyd's Guitar Blues, and Andy Kirk in March of 1939. All right, so again, let me just go ahead and skip down for that. And so it goes in to talk about the bebop in Milton's Playhouse. So I'm not gonna go into that part right there. But as a matter of fact, let's just go into look at what bebop is. So what is bebop? All right, now you know bebop is like a form of jazz. So basically, bebop is a style of jazz developed in the early to the mid 1940s in the United States. The style features composition characterized by a fast tempo, complex chords progression with rapid chords changes and numerous changes of key. Instrumental virtuously and improvisation based on a combination of harmonic structure, the use of scales, and occasional references to the melody. So, all right, to sum it all up, so bebop is like a fast tempo jazz. It's like an up tempo jazz. Basically, that's what it is. And of course, you got somebody that come along and does the little bebop sound. And I forgot the name of the dance, but the type of dance move is where I gotta look up the name of it. But anyhow, it's like where they pick each other up and twirl around and they slide across the floor, etc. It's a technical name for it, but I have to look up the name. But anyways, that's the type of dance that people was doing back then to the sound like this. So bebop is a fast tempo jazz. It's up tempo. It's like that more energetic type of jazz. Let's just put it that way. That's what bebop is. An energetic type of jazz. All right. So anyways. So how did it come into existence? Well, it developed as the younger generation of jazz musicians expanded the creative possibility of jazz beyond the popular dance-oriented swing style. That's what it's called. It's called swing. All right, so it's jazz-oriented, the dance-oriented swing style with a new musician music that was not as danceable and demanded close listening, as bebop was not intended for dancing. It enabled the musician to play at faster tempos And bebop musicians explored advanced harmonies, complex syncopation, altered chords, etc. All right. So this is Dizzy Gillespie at the Downbeat Club in New York. All right. So now this was during the time where the Harlem Renaissance was coming into transitioning, right? It was growing, it was expanding, and all of that. Jazz originally started in New Orleans. So that's where it started. That's the origin of jazz in New Orleans. And so the people from the South, they brought all of those creative sound up north. Damn. All right. What else I want to look on here about bebop? Let's see what else I want to look up on. Um, so it grew out of accumulation of trends that had been occurring with swing music. Let's see what else can we find on here. So one young admirer of Betsy Orchestra in Kansas City was a teenage alto saxophone player named Charlie Parker. Okay. I'm just trying to find what else I want to look at. All right, so let's look at the early recordings. So bebop originated as musician music played by musicians with other money-making gigs who did not care about the commercial potential of the new music. It did not attract the attention of major record labels, nor was it intended to. Some of the early bebop was recorded informally. Some sessions at Milton's in 1941 were recorded with Thelonious Monk alongside an assortment of musicians, including Joe Guy, Hot Lips, Page, Roy Eldridge, Don Byas, and Charlie Christian. Okay. So it said Christian is featured in recordings from the May 12th of 1941. Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie were both participants at a recorded jam session hosted by Billy Askerstein on February 15th of 1943. Parker at another Askerstein jam session on February 28th, 1943. All right. So again, the whole purpose of this bebop, it was not intended to be very popular on the mainstream, and it's still like certain type of jazz are not popular, okay, but you can hear jazz element in the hip-hop music and rock music, etc. But jazz itself is really not a very popular genre like that. It's still like underground in a sense. Now it's more like one of those things you hear where like if you go to a fine place where you dine with somebody, like if you go to a nice restaurant, you'll hear some jazz, or if you go to a casino, you'll hear jazz going on in the background. That's what it is. It's not really like uh it's not a big mainstream genre. You know what I mean? So something like bebop and smooth jazz and all that, it's not very popular in the mainstream. So so that's how it is to this day. So yeah, jazz doesn't receive a lot of recognition unless you blend the sound in with R&B or hip hop. If you blend that sound in, then you can hear it. But other than that, it don't receive that type of recognition. So jazz alone is just like a lot of people not just listen to jazz like that unless they're somewhere at home, or if they're going to a restaurant, or they're going to a casino. Yeah. All right. So it's like a more type of club music or club genre versus a mainstream one. Um, so let's see what else I want to go back and look at. Let's see. All right, so here's a street that's named after him, Charlie Christian Avenue in Oklahoma City. All right. So let's look at his life. How did he pass away? Well, in the late 1930s, Christian contracted tuberculosis. Now, tuberculosis was a serious illness at that time period. It's still a deadly disease, but it's not as bad as it was during the 20s and the 30s. So if you called tuberculosis at that time, and especially as an African American, and there was no type of health insurance, then you was going to eventually die from it because that's how deadly it was. It was nothing that the doctors could really do for you. But anyways, he contracted tuberculosis, and in the early 1940s, he was hospitalized for a short period in which the Goodman Group was on a hiatus because of Goodman's back trouble. Goodman was hospitalized in the summer of 1940 after a brief stay at Santa Catalina Island, California, where the band stayed when they were on the West Coast. All right, so this is his possible grave site right here in Boham, Texas. Okay, that's the possible grave site. So you remember back in those days, they didn't have tombs for a lot of African Americans, so those tombs were either unmarked, the grave site area was unmarked, so it was not determined where exactly they were buried. Again, that's just how it was in the 40s and in the 30s. They didn't give you a grave tomb, and they didn't give you no grave site like that. So until later on in life. All right. Yeah, so it said he returned home to Oklahoma City in the late 1940s and returned to New York City and in September 1940 and early 1941. Christian resumed his hectic lifestyle, heading to Harlem for a late night jam session after finishing gigs with the Goodman Sextet and Orchestra in New York City. In June of 1941, he was admitted to Seaview, a sanitarium on Staten Island, in Staten Island in New York City. He was reported to be making progress, and Downbeat magazine reported in February 1942 that he and Cootie Williams were starting a band. After a visit to the hospital that same month by the tap dancer and drummer Marion Joseph Taps Miller, Christian declined in health. He died March the 2nd, 1942 at the age of 25. He was buried in an unmarked grave in Boham, Texas. A Texas State Historical Commission marker and headstone were placed in Gates Hill Cemetery in 1994. The location of the historical marker and headstone was disputed, and in March of 2013, Fannin County, Texas recognized that the marker was in the wrong spot and that Christian is buried under the concrete slab. Damn. Oh, wow. But these are the list of instruments that he done played. So he played the Epiphone, the Gibson ES 150, the Gibson ES 250, right? Um, let's see. He also played the Gibson L5. So that's various guitars that he played. So that these are the different lists. I don't think was Fender around then. No, Fender couldn't have been around at that time period. I don't think Fender guitars was around at that time. But anyways, it said that Christian never recorded as a leader. Compilation have been released on his session as a sideman, in which he is a featured solo list of practice and warm-up recording for the session, and some lower qualities recordings of Christian's own groups performing in nightclubs by amateur technicians. All right, so you got with Benny Goodman. These are the list of recordings that he did. Lionel Hampton, and with others. And here are the filmographies. Okay, so 2005 Solo Flight, The Genius of Charlie Christian. 2007 Charlie Christian, The Life and Music of the Legendary Jazz Guitarist. So that's it. And if you guys want to check out the notes, you can check out the notes at the bottom of the page. You got the reference at the bottom of the page. And you got the links right here at the bottom too. Okay. So, and here is a book that you guys can also check out for those of you that's into like reading materials and stuff. So this one's called Charlie Christian, The Art of Jazz Guitar. All right, so here are the contents. The Charlie Christian biography, A Smooth One, Holy Cats, 6 Appeal. Let's see, 7 Come 11, Gone with Wet Wind, Air Mail Special, Benny's Bugle, Breath His Feud, Shivers, Tilton Special, Grand Slam, Solo Flight, Notation, Harmonic Analysis. So this is about like 34 pages long, so it's a short book, but if you guys still want to read into it, you guys can look it up. Just look up Charlie Christian, The Art of Jazz Guitar. All right. And for those of you that's on my social media page, I might post up the information on there. So I will make sure that I don't forget to do so. All right. But anywho, that is all that I have for now. Okay. That's all I have for now. But anyways, though, so sorry for the constant interruption. I was reading the chat, and then on top of that, clearing my throat at the same time. So I don't know. I think I'm coming down with like seasonal allergy because the weather is changing. So that can interfere with that. So anybody that knows about having little allergies and stuff, you know how that is. That's why it's always good to make sure you have water. Drink you some water. Clear your throat. Oh, and another thing, before I log off of here. Yeah, I want to address something too right along with that. Speaking of making mistakes and the mispronunciation, okay? If I mispronounce something, it's one thing to correct me, and I appreciate that for those that do, because I don't always pronounce things correctly. It happens. But I was sure that, there was something that I did say correctly, but maybe it's just because I was reading so fast. Oh, and another thing on top of that, don't think because people make mistakes in their reading that they are unintelligent and uneducated and don't have no type of sense of knowledge. And I'm not saying for the person that's in the chat, because that's not what the person was doing. I don't think that was his intent. That's not his intent. But, just in general, what I'm saying? I'm just addressing the people who have done this shit before, what I'm saying? That's try to throw shade at me like, bro answers, you don't want to do that because I probably know a little bit more than what you think. I probably would say some things and have some conversation with some of you motherfuckers, and you probably wouldn't be able to some of the stuff that you wouldn't even know for your damn. So you'll be like, damn, what the fuck? I didn't know this shit. So what I'm saying is be careful how you throw shade at people, okay? For those of you that's out there throwing shade at folks because people making mistakes or they there's a mishap in their reading and shit like that, don't try to do that shit. You know what I mean? So again, everybody ain't the smartest motherfucker on the planet, all right? So even if you did know how to be well articulated, that doesn't mean you smarter than everybody. So chill out with that shit. All right. Lower your ego. That's all I gotta say. Lower your ego on that shit. Like you're not that intelligent. And yes, I cuss on top of that too. So don't think because I cuss that I am unintelligent. All right. I know plenty of motherfuckers that cuss a lot more than I do. And they are very intelligent people. All right. So I just want to get that out the way. All right, so for you scumbags and maggots out there that be trying to throw little shades, don't you try that shit. Don't try, because I'm the wrong one you want to throw that shade to. I'm just letting you know. I'm the wrong one. And if I ever come across somebody who try to do that in person, I might hurt their feelings. Just saying, I might hurt your feelings. So you don't want to throw no shades at me like that. But anyways, but again, to the brother in the chat room, Brother Love, if that's your name, I don't really know you, but anyways, um, as I said before, I did pronounce that person's name correctly. Yeah, I did pronounce their name correctly. So as I was reading the article, it just may not sound like I did, but I did. Okay. I have a southern accent. All right. So that's another thing that makes it different. When you have a southern accent that kicks along with that, that makes a lot of difference. Okay. So certain words may not come out very clearly or articulating. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Some folks pronounce things different from others. So that makes a whole difference. All right. But anyhow, dang, it looks like it's about to rain out there. Yeah. Or maybe not. Let's see something. I'm just trying to figure out the weather. Let's see something. Okay, right now it's just cloudy. So it's just really cloudy out there. I don't think it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain later on. Okay, so yeah, it just looked a little cloudy where I'm at. So I was just wondering about the weather, but since I'm on the topic about the music industry or whatnot, there is a lot of artists who are very talented, but they don't even receive a lot of credits. And what I noticed is that they even say producers, they claim other producers' work. Like, let's say, for example, if it was like joint producers where one producer came in and did most of the beats and combined most of the sounds together, and then another producer come along and help out or bring some type of assistant. The person that is an assistant, they try to claim the credit all together, just so for monetary purpose. One thing about me, like I said, I would never want to be in the music industry. You know what I'm saying? So if I was somebody who can play instrument very well, I would never want to do music industry, only because it's a lot of dirty politics going on around it, and you may not get paid as much. You may not receive your credit as somebody not only being a songwriter or a singer, but you may not receive your credit as somebody who's a musician and who does the production for artists. You may not receive that credit because you might get somebody who want to come along and want to be greedy as fuck because they see them dollar signs, especially when they get to that millions. You ain't gonna get all your money. And if you was to do that, you would have to start your own production team, because if you work under somebody else's production team, they ain't gonna pay you everything. So yeah, that's really messed up. So hmm, that's the part I wouldn't even want to get into that arena. Like, who wants to get into that arena knowing that they're not gonna get paid unless you have your own production team, your own publishing company, all that good stuff. But until then, if you work on somebody else's production, 9 times out of 10, that motherfucker who running it, he or she is not gonna pay your goddamn ass. So you screwed. You're fucked up. Yeah. But anyways, I'm coming back later on today to do more topics. I don't know what topic I'm gonna come up with, so I gotta think about that one. I gotta brainstorm on that one. And but anyways, I will be sure to come back on here on later on this evening. So please check me out. But until then, This your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging off. With that being said, peace and power elevation be to all of you, and be careful out there because there's some more people out here catching COVID left to right. So make sure you guys are taking it easy on yourself, and please be safe. All right, during this pandemic. All right, so let me go back and chill for the rest of the day, and I'll chop it up. All right now.